UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
To all who listen to this happy podcast, this is Mickey's Marvels on the United Federation of Podcasts.
You can contact the network at contact@ufp.earth, on Twitter @UFPearth, and on Facebook.
I'm your host, Tribz. Join with me, as he always is, my Tonto, my Kemosabe, my Stan Laurel of the Laurel and Hardy of the Mickey's Marvels podcast. It's Magic. Magic, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm well, thanks for asking. Here we are, episode 5. It's the Mandalorian series.
Wait,
I'm enjoying it.
Has a week gone by already?
A week? You know,
It feels like it was like 4 minutes ago when we were recording about number 4.
you know, time flies when you're having fun, my friend.
Behind the scenes, folks.
Time
We're recording
flies.
these back to back.
Time flies when you're having fun, and it seems like it's only 4 minutes ago where we just wrapped up episode 4. And here we are, episode 5. Folks, we're bringing it to you live and in person, or if you want to make it live, put it on your surround sound systems. Here we are. We're officially more than halfway through the series, and I can't help but enjoy the series episode by episode by episode. I am so happy this is a weekly drop. If it was actually a static drop where all 8 episodes would be in, I wouldn't know what to do until 2020 comes along. So,
Yeah. Also, this podcast wouldn't make as much sense. As it is, we're already behind, and we would be like 8 episodes behind when we dropped number 1.
yeah, and it would be, everybody would be like, oh, I'd have to watch it over again just to see it. But all in all, I enjoy the weekly drops more than I enjoy the static drops, because there's a lot to take in with each episode. As the listeners, if you haven't noticed already, we've gone into very deep dives in each of these episodes. So it's better, like we said, it's better for the cooler talk. It's better for the speculation. It's better for the suspense.
Tribz is also, I was going to go there. You just stepped on my joke. Tribz is lying to you. He hates suspense, so he wants a static drop.
I do. I hate suspense. You were gone for 2 weeks. I had nobody to talk to. Oh, my God. I was too... Okay, I'll mention this again in the next podcast, or in the Disney trip podcast that we'll do, but I was kind of like that bunny, that photo that you see of the bunny that stares out the window in the rain and got the teardrops falling. That was me, pretty much, while I'm
He's
sitting here.
still lying to you because he had dinner with a good friend of the show, Amy Nelson.
But for 2 weeks, I'm seeing you fun in the sun down in Florida, and I got to deal with a torrential rainpour, which in the desert really is a torrential rainpour during the holiday season. I'm dealing with all sorts of shit outside of this, outside of the podcast and in real life, and I'm dealing with all this, and here's photos of Magic and his family with smiles on their faces. In some photos, maybe not so much smiles, but it's just...
Oh, you mean when my family got me on a roller coaster despite the fact that I have a crushed L5 vertebrae and hate roller coasters? Yeah. There were 3 smiles. None of them were mine.
I was worried for you after you mentioned that to me, but again, I can understand where you're coming from, because I have a bad back myself. So
It was horrible. If you have a bad back and you're going to try a roller coaster for the first time in 20 years, do yourself a favor. Don't make it the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Not because it's that bad of a roller coaster, but because it's not that bad of a roller coaster, it bounces you everywhere.
I could one-up you and say, don't do Indiana Jones.
I wouldn't. Although I did try and do Dinosaur, which is the exact same ride. It's the same ride vehicle and everything, and it's my favorite ride in Animal Kingdom, and I never got to it.
I did.
But this is not this podcast.
No, it is not. But it's the fact that Tribz hates suspense. That's what this podcast is. It hates suspense.
And we are going to make you wait to find out about that trip.
Yes, and it's going to kill me even more. Oh my gosh. All right, so here we are, Mandalorian, Chapter 5, The Gunslinger. So, here's my overall of it. Yet again, it's the sidekick of the week, you could say, for Mando. We arrive at Tatooine, which is a great callback to again, another great callback to Star Wars, the history of it. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really well done as far as the city was concerned. You know, when we left it in '77, it was populated. It was a business market. It was things going on. But now you come back to it and it's pretty much desolate. I really enjoyed this episode for the fact of just that they had a sidekick of the week, and what the sidekick is, and who the sidekick is a real twister towards the end. So, Magic, what say you?
What say I? I say I love this episode. It was phenomenal. I did enjoy the fact that he was sort of recruited actually to be the sidekick. You know, even though he was really running point on the whole thing, he was helping a guy get into the guild, and he understands that because he once had to prove himself to the guild. And he also kind of laughs at the guy because he's like, if they're sending you after that person, they don't care about you even slightly, because he understands that the person he's going after is a mercenary of great talents. You know.
Yeah, you got to think that they're sending this youngin out to the expert. That's like going from level 1 to level 99 and expecting a win.
Right.
You know what I mean? So not to play it in video game terms, but that's exactly what it is. It's level 1 to level 99 and you're going to get blown away. But the sidekick knows the Mandalorian, or knows of the Mandalorian, or knows of a Mandalorian, and thinks he'd be a great person to take on the adversary with.
Right, and here we are again with they're the greatest fighters ever.
You mentioned this not 5-6 minutes ago.
Well, it feels that way, but it's been a week.
Oh. So again, we come into Tatooine. What was your thoughts on Tatooine as far as what we see of it, quote unquote, now, as opposed to 77?
I think it's cool. I like the fact that we get these callbacks, and I like the fact that they changed it enough that they didn't try and make it look like our Tatooine. I can see how people might start complaining at some point that we're getting far too many callbacks for callback's sake, but it doesn't feel forced yet. So I'm going to go with it. And, I've always talked about in previous podcasts I've done, not here on Making Marvels, but in other podcasts, there's always been the debate of what is too much, playing to the fandom. Mm-hmm. What is what's the word I'm looking for? Fan service. What's too much fan service? Too much fan service is when you need to know what happened with Tatooine to understand what's going on now. Now, yeah, they tell us Tatooine, and we, as Star Wars fans, are like, "Ooh, Tatooine, this is great." But if you didn't watch the originals and you're just jumping in to The Mandalorian because you got Disney Plus for Disney Plus and you want to watch and see what all the talk's about, not knowing what Tatooine was does not destroy this story for you. It doesn't change the story at all for you, really. It's just something that we get to go, "Ooh, I like it, cool." So I think this is the right amount of fan service here. I just don't want to see it every single week, which we've now seen it twice in a row, with the callback to Endor and now this. If episode 6 is another callback and episode 7 is another callback, and then we end up on another planet in 8, that's come on, break free of the Skywalker legacy and let's move on and really world build the rest of this universe.
Yeah, and you mentioned a good point. I mean, again, fan service is what you make of it. But you're absolutely right. If you're not a Star Wars fan or haven't been in contact with Star Wars in such a long time, Tatooine is just another place for you. For those who follow the series of movies, for those who for those who love it, Tatooine holds a special place because of Luke Skywalker. Yes, there is that undertone, but it is now years later, so it's a whole different Tatooine.
Absolutely, and not knowing that Luke Skywalker came from there does not destroy the Mandalorian story.
Absolutely, and it's actually interesting yet refreshing that we get a different Tatooine. You walk along the villages. There's hardly anybody there. You go into the one cantina, which I would love to think that it's the same one where Han shot first, and you can at me about it on Twitter. I don't care.
Did he?
I believe he did.
No. I don't care about this debate at all. I'm just doing it for the sake of the podcast. It's theater of the mind at this point. I'm furious that you would say that.
I like Harrison Ford. Therefore, he shot first.
No. He was defending himself like an honorable person.
He's a scoundrel. Like the guy,
That's all. No, that's just hyperbole. That's fake news. That's propaganda.
It's gonna be huge. It'll be huge. Sorry, we're getting political. Oh man, yeah, we're gonna have to. So it's a scoundrel, that he comes across, right? It's the Mandalorians. Hold on. Okay, so he runs into town. He flies in. He meets the wacky mechanic who comes in. He wants to get the ship fixed because he was just involved in a battle. In a battle, and he lands on this planet, and he wants to get the ship fixed, and he comes across this mechanic that looks like something out of a mix of Lord of the Rings and some sort of Jawa looking.
No, and Sigourney Weaver.
And she
looks like she'd be like Sigourney Weaver's distant cousin.
Now that I think of it, you're right. The hair.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the hair from Alien. It is. It's the hair from Alien and Alien.
She's Sigourney Weaver's cousin.
Wow, I never thought of it. And she's only like 4 feet shorter than Sigourney Weaver, so that would actually make sense.
And every other normal-sized human.
Right? She's accompanied by 3 droids because it's the futuristic Pet Boys. So she comes in. He goes to the proverbial counter, as if you would say in any other fix-it shop. And she says, oh, you got this here, you got this wrong with you, got this wrong with you. Okay, what does it cost? Here's
no droids.
Yeah.
No droids.
No droids.
So he hates droids.
Okay, so here's my thing. Did he say no droids because he hates droids, or did he say no droids because he doesn't...
Nope, he hates them.
That's the only... I had something...
There's nowhere for you to go with
I
that.
had it, and then I lost it. Because you're right, he does. He hates droids because he shot the friggin' bounty hunter droid back 4 episodes ago.
Yeah. But even that, I mean, it seems weird. Again, we're kind of changing the story to suit the moment, but remember, there's a vast dislike of droids at this point in history, right? So he just doesn't like droids, and okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just know that the mechanic is weird. That's what I know.
Well, and she's also, early on, she has a massive amount of character development in one episode, by the way. Because she goes from being extremely weird, which she kind of stays weird, but she goes from extremely weird and evil to caring.
Yes.
Very quickly.
Yes.
Because when she finds Baby Yoda, she walks up to Baby Yoda, she gets Baby Yoda, and she's treating him like a baby, and you seem to think like she has like this motherly instinct. And when she's talking to the droid, she's like, "Oh, we're going to take care of this. Get me something for it to eat, something with bones in it, and blah 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 whatever." And she's like, "And then we'll charge him for it."
Yeah, I I definitely see where you're coming from, and then